Challenge for all of you. Can you drive in the Philippines? Will you drive in the Philippines, or will you completely lose all your patience? I'll tell you a little bit about, I'll show you a lot about driving in the Philippines. Here we are in Cebu City metropolitan area, and I'm using a Hobble Hobble, a motorbike taxi. And we share the road here. We're very polite. Everybody shares the road. If there's 2 lanes, they make 3 or 4. If there's 4 lanes, they make 5, 6, 7 lanes. And unlike most places in the world, there isn't very much in the way of enforcement. Certain percentage of the people have neither training, education, or a license, proper license, or documentation, registration of the vehicles. They are occasionally caught, but a lot of them out there yet, and expect the unexpected. I have driven. I had a motorbike for I think almost 2 years, and I had a kid ran into me. 18-year-old kid ran into me. They took us down to the Land Transportation Office, Cebu City Transportation Office, and the investigator told him it was his fault, but he had neither insurance nor any money, so not much we could do. And yeah, we share oncoming lanes. Very, very common here. I know a couple of my Western friends here, expats who have vehicles and they drive, and their wife will continually tell them, "Don't get so upset. Don't get so upset." And I tell you what, if you get upset driving in your country, if you are inclined to for your blood pressure to go up a bit, boy, you will lose it here. You'd absolutely lose it, because lane lines, for instance, are mere suggestions. You know, in the U.S., in a lot of parts of the U.S., if you go over that line, if you don't stay in your line, if you weave a little bit, they'll pull you over and give you a citation. Here, almost everything is, number one, there aren't very many enforcers, even though Cebu City has hired, I think, 300 or more new enforcers in the last few years. Almost all of them are on foot, standing on the side of the road, and they are just pulling over people somewhat randomly to check documents primarily. Do you have a license? Do you have registration for your vehicle? Occasionally you'll see one on a corner. They're watching for people who are not obeying the traffic rules, if there are such a thing here. First of all, can you drive here? Well, your foreign license is good for 90 days here, and then you can, depending upon where you're at, which LTO, Land Transportation Office, you go to. A number of years ago, I don't know, about 5 years ago or so, they tightened up the rules a bit and making it harder for foreigners to get a license. I made 3 attempts at it, and each time they had a reason why I couldn't get it. Number one, I was on a tourist visa, and they said basically, well, you need to have a longer term visa. And then eventually I got a work visa, and that helped me get my license. The testing, the medical, you need to do an eye test, a pee test for drugs. The test is relatively easy, although the rules are different here, and the questions, because they're translated from Filipino. You can get it, I think, in Filipino or English. And the translation from Filipino to English is a little bit confusing. Even in the U.S., I had almost every endorsement in the U.S. a person could get, and some of the questions in these tests. I went from Nevada to California, and I called the California Department of Motor Vehicles 2 or 3 different times, and they said, "Sir, you just bring your Nevada license down and pay the fees, and we'll give you the California license." When I actually went to do that, when I was in California, they said, "Oh no, sir, you need to take the tests." I think I had to take 6 different tests. Automobile driving, big rig driving, 18-wheeler driving, brakes, a brakes test, hazardous chemicals test, motorcycle test. There was at least 1 or 2 more. Don't remember what they were, but I'm pretty sure there was at least 6 tests. Took me a couple hours to do them, and I passed them all, surprisingly, because I had not studied for them. I had taught the classroom course for a while when I was in Nevada. Now, I've been in Cebu City metropolitan area for 10 years, lived in 6 different condos. I've got a lot of videos on condos, cost of living, medical, dental, information. If you haven't subscribed, consider that. Thumbs up, thumbs down, commenting, all helps the algorithms. You can join. I do a deeper dive into some subjects on a member site, which is down in the lower left-hand corner. Under that, over on the right, there is a super thanks or something like that. Below the video, in the first comment of most videos, I've got PayPal as well as Buy Me a Coffee. If you want to support the channel in any way, those are options. Always appreciate that. Anyway, back to driving in the Philippines. Yeah, you can drive here. You can rent motorbikes and or cars. You can also rent an automobile or a van with the driver for the day, for the week, and reasonably priced. I think I saw a price for $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for a full day with a big van and a driver with it. Take you out sightseeing, go down south, over to Boal, down to Oslo, see some waterfalls, lots of different things there. And usually the bigger hotels, the bigger hotels usually have contacts with these guys with the vans. They might have some parked outside. You can also rent a taxi for the day, pretty much, for about 3,500 pesos. It's right around there. A lot of people give at least a 500 peso tip, about 4,000. 3,500 pesos at 55 pesos to the dollar is about 63 US dollars for the day. A vehicle and the driver. Awesome. And if you want to rent a motorbike, if you've never ridden a motorbike, probably not advised. I hadn't ridden one for quite some time, and when I first got one, I rented one over on Camotes Island, and when I first got on, it's like, whoa, boy, this is. But once you've ridden a bicycle or a motorbike, it comes back to you real fast. Anyway, and yeah, I have a license for an automobile and a motorbike here, and I've got to renew that very soon. That's coming up for renewal. I think it's 5 years. I don't know if the second renewal. Somebody told me it was 10 years, but I think it depends upon your age also. So we'll have to find out. This is second video. I'm using 2 different videos, and they're backaways. But I decided to use them because they show what I wanted to show. They show the chaos on the streets here in the Philippines, jeepneys, and in California, it's legal to use that, basically the lane line between lanes for motorbikes. And I read a few years ago, on average, I think there's like 1.5 motorcyclists killed every day, something like that. in California. Crazy dangerous. I met a guy who lived in California, had a motorbike, an American, some years ago, and he said, yeah, he rode that middle line often on the freeways, and he said, no, it took off a lot of mirrors while I was doing that, because yeah, you know the life on the freeways of California. I have driven my motorbike, Rusi 250 here in Cebu City metropolitan area. Really didn't like doing it very much. It's just so crazy, you know. You can look in your mirrors and think you're clear on your left or your right, and half a second later there's somebody coming upon both sides, another scooter, and boy, these guys just the honking here. The honking here is not road rage. 99% of the time, it is alerting other drivers around you that I'm here beside you, coming around you, something like that. So it's more of a courtesy honk. And there's a lot less honking after the 2-year government lockdowns. Surprisingly, people forgot. It was very habitual before. Not quite as much these days. But no, almost zero enforcement. You almost never. You'll see a pickup truck every once in a while that says Cebu City Traffic or Mandaue City Traffic. But you know, they might be going to an accident. They might be going to do some other things, but I've never seen them pull somebody over. And police cars also, there are police cars, but I don't think I've ever seen a police car that has pulled over a motorist. Maybe they have, I just haven't seen them, but they usually drive around with their lights on. And come over on Bohol, Panglao Island, Bohol, many years ago, when I mentioned to the taxi, there's a policeman behind you with his lights on. Aren't you going to pull over? And he said, no, they always drive around with their lights on. And I said, well, how do you know if he wants you to stop? Well, they'll turn their siren on, or they'll get on their loudspeaker. Okay, I think that was in China 20 or so years ago. I think the same thing there. I did take a couple trips out in the province. I took 5 days to ride my motorbike around Cebu Island. I was going to take 7 days, but by the 5th day I was tired and I just headed home. And I would like to do that again. I would rent a motorbike. I'd like to do that again. My girlfriend isn't real enthused about that, but we'll see. And a lot less traffic in the province. You know, you'll get it in some of the little towns, but a lot less traffic generally. But you really got to watch out for pedestrians, for dogs, for chickens, and debris, things that have fallen off, branch that's fallen off of a tree, debris that's fallen off the back of a truck, gravel on the road. All sorts of obstacles. Children running out into the street. I had a subscriber some years ago over on Bohol Island. He said some kids ran out and he slowed way down, but they bumped into his scooter that he had rented, and nobody got hurt. But the people around there, they gathered around, called the police. I think he had to pay. He agreed to pay like 10,000 pesos to make everybody happy, even though nobody got hurt, and it really wasn't his fault. Kids ran out into the street, but what do you do? Now, the accident that happened to me, the kid, 18-year-old kid, 2 guys on a motor scooter, and apparently he said his mirror fell off, his left mirror fell off, and he was kind of in the center towards the center of the lane, so I was passing him on the right. I thought I was by him. He was slowing down, he looked over at me, he was looking at me, and all of a sudden, bam, I'm on the pavement. And so he must have turned real sharp. He thought I was past him. He turned real sharp to the right to go over to the side of the road so his passengers could go retrieve his mirror. And yeah, busted up my bike pretty good. Didn't do too much damage to his bike. In fact, he rode it from there uptown Cebu City out to South Road Properties, where the Land Transportation Office is. A PNP guy who did the accident report investigation there, he gave me a ride on his motorbike out there. And the investigator out there sat, showed the kid, it's your fault. And he had a couple toy motorbikes. He showed him why it was his fault. But yeah, that kid didn't have any money or any insurance. So I sold the bike to an American who fixed it up, and took him a while to get all the parts and everything, but then he resold it. Didn't fit his body the way he thought it would. Let's squeeze through here. Watch your knees. One thing I did not do, almost never did, only a couple times when the gap between vehicles was a little bit wider. My Rusi 250 is a little bit bigger than these scooters, and boy, when you're working with just inches anyway, it wasn't worth the risk to me. A lot of risks out here. I often use hobble motorbike taxis, and like here, you get through traffic so much faster sometimes. But there is some risk involved. I've never scraped my knee. I've had, most of the drivers I've had were reasonably safe, considering. And there aren't too many really bad accidents here because traffic generally isn't going that fast. Now, you get in some parts of the Philippines, in the south, where there's a little bit of a freeway section, and people get going a little bit faster. And there's a couple of crossroads down there. You could have a bigger accident. I've seen some vehicles that pretty banged up, usually in intersections, because almost no stoplights, very few stoplights and or stop signs. People just make it work. One side goes for a while, the other side sticks their nose out, the other side lets them go for a while. And yeah, this video is actually a few years old, because this is I'm going to the old G Mall, J Center Mall, where immigration used to be in Mandaue City. And now it's SM bought it, shut it down for about 2 years, remodeled it. And yeah, immigration is no longer there. Immigration's at Cebu G Mall over in Cebu City. Anyway, would you drive in the Philippines? Gotta have a lot of patience. Anyway, thanks for coming along. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next video.